people who we engaged in the research had a multitude of creative and life-sustaining strategies that they use to grow older, and to fill gaps in the system that many of us don't even think of on a daily basis. But these amazing strategies that they've developed over time living with HIV, over time lived throughout life, and they're making it work. I think that's what was amazing in the context of a system that's set up at every turn to not permit them full access to things. Systems are complicated and burdensome and hard to navigate, but there are so many gaps that people run into every day. And that was what really stood out to me, is that people have to invest so much energy and time jumping over these gaps and building bridges over these gaps and filling these gaps for themselves because the system is full of cracks. And a lot has changed in 20 years, but in the earlier days of the HIV epidemic, I mean, we had time when people couldn't access treatment and thought they weren't going to live into older age. And so this whole experience is an unexpected one for them. We have periods of time where people were marginalized and excluded based on their sexual orientation, based on their HIV status, and other intersecting stigmas that meant they couldn't stay in the workforce, meant they couldn't plan for the future, meant they couldn't have hope, I guess, in the same way that some people were able to as they got older. And now those experiences shape their day-to-day lives, even though in some ways those things have gotten better. Stigma might be less for some people than it used to be, though that's not true in every community. HIV medication is certainly available and widely accessible, but your life course and the things you experience across that trajectory are always going to be with you today, even if things are better today than they used to be. Okay, so yeah, one particular analysis meeting that we had, I think it was the one we had that we talked about the codes related to income security and making ends meet and living expenses. And I opened that meeting with a little bit of a reflection on the fact that I thought that that was potentially going to be an emotional discussion, because I think hearing about the impact of insufficiency that people experience is emotional for people, myself included. And there was a lot of very frank discussion of that in our focus groups. And so at the end of that session, I wanted to have us do a bit of a debrief and say, you know, what was that like for us to talk about as a group? And the members of the analysis team were so eloquent in their appreciation, I don't know what the word is, gratitude for the space to talk through the kinds of things that we were talking through in these analysis meetings, and to reflect on the fact that some people had been previously engaged in research and had sort of taken a break or stepped away from it because they didn't feel engaged or they didn't feel attended to in some way, and how thankful they were to come back to research in this project and in this way that we were doing things, and how we were really step by step working through the data together and having these opportunities for conversation. I mean, we had 13 or so meetings that were each 2 hours long to work through all of our data. I mean, that's a lot of time we've spent together as a small team and a lot of relationship building that's happened during that. It's meaningful for people to not only have the opportunity to share this kind of information through participation in research, but through participation in the research process and really getting to dig deep and say, and see that we as researchers are getting it and we're
Yeah.
digging deep into this information. That's what sticks with me.